Good morning. Disappointing weekend this past weekend there in San Marcos, all the way around, everywhere in our program, from the coaches to the players to everything involved. Didn't play very well at all, and it showed on Saturday, and the tape showed the same thing late or early Sunday morning, and then also this morning. So this break couldn't come at a better time for us right now to get some guys healthy and to get back on track. So we'll take the next 3 days and really concentrate on us and how we can improve and get ready for a very good Georgia State team. They're playing very well right now after a rough start, and Sean will have his kids ready to play next Wednesday.
Sean, obviously you had the chance to watch the film and kind of assess the executional end of the game. I know that after the game you commented on your post-game message around really representing this brand in the right way, representing what App State football is. Do you have kind of a feel in your mind of a split between how much of what you saw was executional breakdown versus maybe just not matching the intensity of the moment?
Yeah, a little bit of both, David. It's disappointing. Again, anytime you represent Appalachian State and have the A on your chest, that there's a standard to be upheld, and we did not uphold that standard, and we recognize that. I recognize as the head football coach, the players recognize that, our coaches recognize that, but just disappointing all the way around, but we have to regroup. And again, I mentioned this earlier. It's about us now, and it's a one-game season. And if it's ever held true, it's really about being 1-0 against Georgia State. And we have a work cut out for us. They're a very good football team, but it's about us, and that's where it's going to be from here on out.
Just knowing your history with the offensive line, those guys really played well, at least to my eye, the first 3 weeks, and the stats kind of bore that out. The running game has struggled a couple of the last 3 weeks, and things just haven't looked quite in sync as well as they did to start the season. What's your assessment of what's going on up front right now?
Well, we're not really getting fit up on people just right. I mean, and really, it's not. And that group is 5 play as 1, and when one person breaks down, it looks terrible. And there were some one-on-one battles we didn't win in the run game that. If we do that, it's a different game. Right? But when you get one-dimensional, have to throw the football all the time, you're not going to be able to win many football games. And I'm not sure the exact yardage. It wasn't good. It was in the 50s or 60s maybe for rushing, and that's unacceptable. And that's on, and not just the offensive line, it's on tight ends, that's on running backs. And we have to do a better job of that, and we have to get started on that now.
Cornerback Ethan Johnson left the game pretty early with an upper body injury, was unable to return. Did that have an impact on the way you guys were able to scheme your coverage the rest of the night? I know that part of the plan was to go a little bit extra heavy back there with some nickel coverage. And, when Ethan went out, I just wonder how that affected what you were able to do on the back end.
Well, that was a big part of the game plan, was Ethan's going to be our free safety on the weak side. And he had practiced all week, and Ethan's a very smart kid that understands football, and he had, a great week of practice. And when that goes out of the game plan, the third play of the game after a tackle, then it goes back to how it was previously. So I know our defensive staff's working on that right now to come up with the best 11 players on the football field at once, and we hope to have him back, but I'm not sure yet.
To that point, obviously, he came out of the game early. Trey Cobb was injured as well, didn't come back. Caden Robinson was out after halftime. And, of course, Cam Peoples was unable to play at all in the game. Can you kind of give us an update on where you think injuries are? And like you said, thankfully, it's a good break for some of these guys maybe to get healed up.
Yeah, Cam Peoples, it was a non-football related injury. And whenever I get more details with that, I'll let you know. Caden Robinson coming with an ankle sprain on the one long pass, incomplete pass. Trey Cobb's playing with a bad shoulder right now. He's a tough kid, and he's going to give you all he has. And who was the other one who'd you ask about?
Well, I mean Ethan Johnson, but you kind of covered that.
I know Scott and our doctors have been working. They started working on those guys on the way back Saturday night, and they were in here. We got back about 5, and they were in the treatment again at 2:30 yesterday and again this morning. So it's going to be day-to-day, probably all year long for those kids.
Last question for me. You mentioned playing Georgia State, who has really bounced back probably at the right time for them. Obviously, you know Sean very well. He takes a lot of principles in his program from here at App State. What can you tell us about the way that those guys are going to approach this game and come after you guys, because you've met them many times before?
Yeah, if you watch the tape, Georgia State plays up to Sean's personality, and we both were teammates here and understand the importance of playing well in the trenches, and I think they're doing a very good job at that right now. Their defense is playing with a lot of team speed. They have a lot of depth, an outstanding corner there that plays to the boundary. And again, it's going to be a tough challenge for us, one we look forward to, and we're glad it's at home. But can't say enough good things about Sean and his program. The way he's turned that thing around here recently, there's a lot of kudos to him.
Coach, when you guys have the first few weeks that you have, really highest of highs, it can kind of make the last 2 weeks feel like the lowest of lows. So is there a challenge kind of keeping your guys even-keeled kind of through these waves, if you will?
It's a big challenge. Again, it's in the world of social media, it's always a challenge for our kids. And I think the message to those guys that we'll have, and we've talked to our players, is and the only one that matters is the ones in the locker room. You've been through it. You know what it takes to win at a high level. And the bad thing is that we put ourselves in this predicament. And the good thing is that we have to get ourselves out of this predicament. And our kids are, they're hurt. They understand that they didn't play well. And I expect us to come back here a week from Wednesday with a lot of energy and enthusiasm to come back and put a great product on the field.
Coach, you talked on Georgia State's defense. Could you just break down what you know at this point? I know it's still really early about their offense and what you've seen.
Yeah, they're going to run the football, and Sean does a great job with scheming things up to put them in the right position. It's the good thing is we know their defense, they know our defense. It's basically the same defense. It came from Nate Woody, but they're going to try to run the football, max it up, throw it deep, and take advantage of their one-on-one matchups. And we have to do a really good job having clean eyes in the backfield, getting pressure on the quarterback. And that's something we have to do with Nick and Jalen in there, our dime package and our rush package. We're getting chipped and double teamed and not get a chance to go to the quarterback. We have to do a better job of when we bring 4 guys to really get to the quarterback when that time shows up.
You kind of alluded to it in your opening, but when you have a big break like this, how much of it is kind of a mental focus that you're worried about, and how much of it is a physical focus that you're addressing and trying to get them ready for the next game?
I think both. If you look at our numbers right now, or our injury report, there's a lot of people in the injury report, and that's college football. Everyone has the same injuries, the same situations we do. It's a physical game, and you're going to have nicks and bruises. So this part, but the physical part, we have guys off today and tomorrow, and we're back here Wednesday and Thursday for 2 tough practices to kind of get our feet back under us and kind of reset it. I mean, we're halfway through the season right now. We're 3-3. It's not where we want to be. And we have to keep doing the right things to improve on a weekly basis. But the mental side of it, it's you have a lot of stuff going on. You have classes, you have community service, you have football, et cetera, but those are just excuses. We have to push the reset button and really take charge of the second half of the season and come out the way we want it to be.